What if I told you there is a single ingredient, one you can buy for less than $1 a day, that when added to your morning coffee does 3 things simultaneously that most people over the age of 60 believe are completely impossible? It reactivates the stem cells your body stopped producing. It actively cuts off the fuel supply that microscopic cancer cells depend on to multiply. And it burns visceral fat, the dangerous kind packed around your organs faster than almost any dietary intervention studied in modern clinical trials. And what if I told you that the reason your standard physician has never mentioned this to you has nothing to do with secrecy and everything to do with the fact that this research is only now reaching medical school curricula, despite sitting in peer-reviewed journals for years? My name is Dr. Young. In my decades of investigating cellular aging, metabolic medicine, and cancer prevention, I've learned that standard 10-minute doctor appointments simply don't give physicians enough time to explain these hidden biological mechanisms to you. Today, we are going to take our time. I am going to show you exactly what the research says, how this works at the cellular level, and the precise step-by-step morning protocol you can start using tomorrow to fundamentally change your biological trajectory. To understand why this works, we first have to look honestly at what is actually happening inside your body right now. After the age of 60, 3 biological processes accelerate simultaneously to age your body, and they all quietly feed into one another. Most people know about one of them, but almost nobody knows about all 3, or how they amplify each other to create a downward spiral. The first process is called mitochondrial senescence. Your mitochondria are the tiny power plants inside every single cell. When you are 20 years old, a single muscle cell might contain thousands of these power plants, all running at peak efficiency. But by the time you reach 65, studies measuring mitochondrial density directly from muscle biopsies show a staggering decline of 40 to 50%. Your cells are literally running on half power. That is why you feel fatigued after activities that used to feel effortless, and why your recovery from illness or a hard day in the garden is noticeably slower. The second process is stem cell depletion, and this is the one almost nobody talks about. Your stem cells are your body's internal repair crew. When an arterial wall gets inflamed, when a muscle fiber tears, or when a section of your gut lining wears down, your stem cells are supposed to migrate to the site and regenerate healthy tissue. At 30 years old, this system works beautifully. But by 65, multiple studies measuring circulating stem cell populations in human blood show a massive decline of 60 to 70% compared to younger adults. Think about what that actually means. The repair crew that maintained your tissues for decades is now running at 30% capacity. Wounds heal slower, and accumulated cellular damage doesn't get fixed. The third process, and the most critical part for our conversation about cancer, is metabolic dysregulation. After 50, your cells become progressively less sensitive to insulin. Your body's ability to efficiently burn fat for fuel diminishes, and instead, glucose, or blood sugar, becomes the predominant fuel source for almost every cell in your body. Why does this glucose dependency matter so enormously? Because cancer cells have a fundamental biological addiction to glucose. Back in 1931, a biochemist named Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize for discovering a metabolic characteristic shared by virtually all cancer cells. He found that cancer cells have damaged mitochondria. Because their power plants are broken, they cannot use oxygen to burn fat for energy. Instead, they are completely locked into an ancient, inefficient backup system called fermentation. This process requires massive amounts of glucose. In fact, cancer cells consume glucose at a rate 10 to 50 times higher than normal cells. When your aging metabolism shifts toward glucose dependency, you are creating the exact metabolic environment that microscopic cancer cells require to thrive, multiply, and turn into a clinical diagnosis. But there is a scientifically proven way to interrupt this entire downward spiral. It involves adding a specific type of fat called C8 MCT oil to your morning coffee. MCT stands for medium chain triglyceride. Normal dietary fats, like the ones in olive oil or nuts, have long carbon chains. They require a complex digestive process, taking hours to move through your lymphatic system before reaching your bloodstream, meaning they often just get stored as body fat. MCT oil is structurally different. Because the carbon chains are shorter, this oil bypasses your normal digestive system entirely. It absorbs directly through the portal vein into your liver, where it is instantly converted into clean-burning energy molecules called ketones, specifically a molecule called BHB. When you produce these BHB ketones, you trigger 5 distinct biological mechanisms that alter the way you age. Mechanism number 1 is the direct starvation of cancer cells. Remember how we discussed that cancer cells have broken mitochondria and rely entirely on fermenting glucose? When you consume C8 MCT oil, your body is flooded with ketones. Your healthy cells absolutely love ketones. They easily use them for fuel because healthy cells have functioning mitochondria. But cancer cells physically cannot metabolize ketones. By replacing a portion of your body's energy demands with ketones, you create a glucose-poor, ketone-rich environment. Your healthy cells thrive, but the cancer cells are deprived of the high-sugar environment they desperately need. You are fundamentally creating an internal environment that is hostile to tumor growth. Mechanism number 2 is stem cell reactivation. This is where the research gets genuinely remarkable. A study published in the journal Nature by researchers at Harvard and the Salk Institute demonstrated that BHB ketones act as biological signaling molecules for your stem cells. When you are running purely on glucose, your aging stem cells tend to become exhausted and lose their regenerative capacity prematurely. But when BHB ketones are present, they signal your stem cells to enter a protected, quiet state called quiescence. In this protected state, your stem cells live longer, they stay youthful, and they are vastly more effective when your body finally calls on them to repair damaged tissue or immune cells. You are essentially preserving your body's repair crew. Mechanism number 3 is the creation of brand new cellular power plants. This is called mitochondrial biogenesis. A study published in the journal PLOS One showed that MCT oil activates a master regulatory protein called PGC1-alpha. When this protein turns on, it literally sends a signal to your DNA to build new mitochondria. After just 4 weeks of MCT supplementation, participants in this study had 28% more mitochondria in their muscle cells. Think about that. You aren't just repairing old, sluggish power plants. You are building brand new ones from scratch, fundamentally reversing the energy decline that causes you to feel so tired as you age. Mechanism number 4 is muscle preservation and the destruction of visceral fat. Visceral fat is the hard, dangerous fat packed around your liver and organs that drives chronic inflammation. Research shows that the BHB ketones produced by MCT oil activate specific nuclear receptors that tell your body to aggressively burn visceral fat. But here is the miracle. It does this while protecting your muscle. Normally, when older adults lose weight, they lose precious muscle mass, leaving them frail. But a clinical study showed that adults between 55 and 75 who took 14 grams of MCT oil daily for 12 weeks lost over 3 kilograms of pure fat and actually gained nearly a kilogram of lean muscle mass at the very same time. This is because ketones signal your body to build muscle without requiring the massive insulin spikes that normally lead to fat storage. And finally, mechanism number 5, which explains why you must put this in your coffee. The synergy between MCT oil and caffeine is extraordinary. Caffeine commands your fat cells to open their doors and release stored fat into the bloodstream. But if that fat isn't burned, it just gets stored again. When you take MCT oil, the ketone production creates a massive metabolic demand. An incinerator, so to speak. When researchers tested this, they found that combining caffeine with MCT oil increased total fat burning by a staggering 120% compared to using either compound completely alone. They multiply each other's effects. So how do you actually do this? The protocol is very specific, and if you cut corners, you will completely miss out on the benefits or end up with an upset stomach. First, you must buy the right product. Not all MCT oils are the same. You must read the label and ensure you are buying pure C8 MCT oil, which is also called caprylic acid. This specific fraction converts to ketones faster than any other type. Do not buy cheap brands that list C12 or lauric acid as the main ingredient. C12 behaves like a regular, slow-digesting fat and will not give you the rapid ketone spike you need. Second, the dosing must be gradual. Tomorrow morning, within the first hour of waking up, you are going to add just 1 single teaspoon of C8 MCT oil to your morning coffee. Do not start with a full tablespoon. MCT oil is processed entirely by your liver, and if if you overwhelm your liver on day 1, you will experience cramping or digestive upset. Take just 1 teaspoon for 3 to 4 days. Once your body is used to it, gently increase to 1 full tablespoon, which is the clinical dose used in the studies. Third, and this is the mistake almost everyone makes, you must blend it. If you simply pour this oil into your coffee and stir it with a spoon, the oil will float on the surface. When you drink it, you will consume separated layers of pure oil. Your body will not absorb it properly, and you will miss the metabolic effect entirely. You must use a blender or a small handheld milk frother to blend the coffee and oil together for 15 to 20 seconds. This breaks the oil down into microscopic particles, creating a creamy, stable emulsion that your body can absorb instantly. For extra benefit, you can add a teaspoon of grass-fed butter, which adds an incredible texture and provides butyrate to heal your gut lining. Once you drink your blended MCT coffee, I want you to delay your first actual meal of the day by 2 to 4 hours. Because of the fats and ketones, you will not feel hungry. During this fasting window, your body is actively producing ketones, keeping your blood sugar beautifully low, keeping your stem cells protected, and creating that hostile, starving environment for microscopic cancers. If you commit to this, here is exactly what you can expect. In the first 2 weeks, you are going to notice a massive surge in morning energy and mental clarity. That is your brain soaking up the ketones. Between weeks 3 and 8, you will start noticing changes in how your clothes fit as your body begins actively burning away that highly inflammatory visceral fat. And by months 2 and 3, as your body literally builds new mitochondria, you are going to experience a level of sustained daily stamina that you likely haven't felt in a decade. I want to be perfectly clear about safety, as I am with all my patients. MCT oil is incredibly safe for the vast majority of older adults. However, if you have active liver disease, if you have type 1 diabetes, if you are managing type 2 diabetes with insulin, or if you are taking blood thinners like warfarin, you must have a conversation with your physician before trying this. You have so much more control over the way your cells age than you have been led to believe. Your body is not a machine that just wears down. It is a biological system that responds to the exact instructions you give it. When you switch its fuel source, you change its destiny. Which part of this biology surprised you the most today? Was it how cancer feeds on sugar, or how stem cells react to ketones? Drop it in the comments below right now, because I read every single one, and your questions directly shape the research for my next videos. If you found this empowering, please share this video with a friend or a loved one over 60 who needs to hear this truth. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my next longevity protocol. I am Dr. Young. Keep asking the hard questions, and I will see you in the next one.